Jimmy on the beat, boy. Jimmy on the beat, boy. Jimmy on the beat, boy.
Wow, can you hear that thunder outside? Boy, oh boy, it's really stormy here in mid-Michigan right now. Beginning of April 2025, April 2nd to be exact. Welcome to the GSN Sports Network podcast. I'm your host, as always, John J. II, here with a great show in store for you guys tonight. Very exciting stuff. Looking into the future, thinking about the future prospects. It's all great. It's all good. It's all in high spirits. And that's exactly how we like it, especially over here at Gin Promotions, GSN, all of it and all of the liking. A lot of good things are happening behind closed doors, and I'm happy to bring that announcement to you. Focus on the future. Don't be stuck in the past, because there's too many people that do that. Okay, there's too many people that can have something happen, whether it's in their own lives or it's something that is related to their lives, but maybe not directly impacting their lives. They can have it bring them down. They can bring them down, especially when it's raining outside. The weather, the length of winter, it can get to you. And if you let your mental health diminish because of any outside factors, then you just got to be better than that. Got to be stronger, talk to somebody, figure it out, and persevere, because the next horizon is coming very soon. So focus on the future. Don't be stuck in the past, and you'll be in good shape. And always be positive. It's hard to do. Don't get me wrong. I know it's hard to do. All right, because we got to acknowledge the fact that when we're talking about college basketball, we got the Final Four, and it really pisses me off when I'm talking about the Final Four and how we have all 4 1 seeds. And it's the first time since 2008 that we've had all 4 1 seeds in the Final Four. And we're going back to San Antonio. And the last time it happened, we went to San Antonio. And It's just a lot of malarkey. That's something that is bringing me down. It has nothing to do with the weather. It has nothing to do with Michigan State losing, which we'll talk about that in a second too. But it just has to do with and I think, I hate to be this guy. I really do. I hate to be this guy, but I have to put some blame. And we saw the writing on the wall. There was a lot of analysts, a lot of people that watch college basketball primarily that were hinting towards this being a thing. And that is the transfer portal and NIL playing such a factor in these one seeds being basically they're super clubs. All right. You're looking at soccer, you look at Real Madrid, you look at Barcelona, PSG in their heyday, AC Milan. There's a lot of teams that you would mark as super clubs. Okay. That's what I would call these guys right now in Florida, Houston, Duke, and Auburn. Okay. Now, it doesn't mean that these one seeds weren't on the rocks and that this could have easily unraveled to make history not repeat itself. There's nobody saying that couldn't happen, and it almost did happen. It almost happened twice to Florida. Arguably, Michigan had Auburn in the first half, I would argue. State could never catch up to Auburn. They were down 10. It seemed like the whole game, the whole second half. They crawled, they scratched within 5, and then next thing you know, it's a 10-point game for the rest of the game, for the remainder. Had some big threes by Jaden Akins late. Trey Holloman, he was basically out the door. I got some choice words for Trey Holloman if I ever had the chance to have a conversation with the guy. I'd have some choice words for the guy. Only because he knew what a lot of us didn't know until only recently. And that is that he was going to jump in the transfer portal and most likely head down to Arizona State, where he's going to continue his tenure as a college basketball player. All right. Now, I'm just devastated to even say that, to utter those words, especially looking at the stand that Trey Holloman took at midcourt when they faced Michigan for the second time with the players kissing the floor and whatnot. To see him defend the Spartan head like he did, and then to see him in interviews where he is basically already gone. All right. And he's saying, okay, well, I'm basically, I'm gone. Oh, you're going to be here after all this? Yeah, probably. Yeah, bullshit. You weren't going to be here. You knew you weren't going to be here. You knew you were going to jump in the transfer portal. And you lied right to the reporter's face just to save face for your own sake. And then what do you do against Auburn? You drop the ball big time. You lay a big fat egg. And I don't want to say he did it on purpose. He didn't throw the game. But you want to talk about one of the worst performances to date by Trey Holloman, that would have been against Auburn. Okay, and I got to tip my cap to Jaden Akins. My heart breaks for Jaden Akins because he really poured his whole heart and soul into this team, and this was their year, at least to make it to the Final Four and face Florida and stir the pot, be the only 2 seed in the Final Four. I think it could have been done. Sure, it could have been done, but that wasn't in the cards for March Madness. All right. March Madness is called madness for a reason. It's not just called that by fluke, people. So my heart breaks for Akins. My heart breaks for guys like Cohen Carr, which I hope to God doesn't jump in the transfer portal. Jackson Kohler, which is a stand-up gentleman. Now Xavier Booker, I think he should jump in the transfer portal. He might have not been allocated correctly, very similar to a Mady Sissoko situation. Where you're just not getting the playing time that you maybe expect to get as a big man. And to see him jump in the transfer portal, really not too surprised about that. I think he has bigger and better things in store for him, kind of like Mady Sissoko did when he went to Cal. But listen, it's all water under the bridge. You got to seek those opportunities, search for those opportunities, and go for the school that's going to provide you with the best opportunity. And Tom Izzo has said that himself. All right. SportsIllustrated.com has done a hell of a job in writing an article in the wake of Michigan State losing to Auburn in the Elite Eight. And he basically said these guys are going to find the opportunities that they're presented with. And those opportunities, more times than not, are going to find them. Okay. They're going to find them before they find the opportunity. And he said that very clearly. He knows about the transfer portal. He knows about the implications of the transfer portal. Now, you can benefit from the transfer portal, but you're also going to lose a lot of core guys, especially with NIL. NIL throws a big wrench in the transfer portal, really, if you're thinking about it, because what does it do? It throws money at these players before they really have to sign over and jump. And a lot of times the communication's taking place weeks before the season's over. Now, there's been a lot of guys that have talked about, hey, we shouldn't have any communication. We shouldn't have anything to even think about until the final buzzer on that championship night, right? For Division One, we don't want to have any conversations with players. We don't want to have any correspondence with teams and players, especially if they're in the middle of a tournament. It just throws a big wrench in a lot of the stuff that is going for the transfer portal and NIL, and both of them in a culmination together. So it's a big mess. You got guys that are jumping ship, guys that might be warranted to jump ship, and other guys where it's like, damn, you were really building this legacy here with Michigan State, and now you're forgetting about that legacy. It's kind of similar. You know what it reminds me of, actually? Is Live Golf, when that came to be, and the PGA Tour. PGA Tour is the classic tradition, and Sobo and I have talked about this time and time again, and I'm sure we will very soon with Masters Week coming up around the bend. But how they're going to throw so much money at players, and we're going to say, hey, come over and join our league. We're going to throw you all this money. You're going to have all these opportunities. You can elevate yourself as a player. You'll elevate yourself in your career in your own right, and we'll make all that happen for you. But one stipulation is you got to jump from that tour that you've been a part of. It's the same with the PGA Tour. It's very similar with college allegiance and college culture with athletics, because it's going to the wayside, and it's going to the wayside quickly. So, and that's what he says in these interviews following the loss to Auburn, is basically Michigan State culture is dwindling. It is going to the wayside. Spartan Nation as a whole, as an athletic base, is thinning. And that's the word they use in the article. It's thinning, because the reality is it's losing its luster. To have allegiance to any school, and this is not just happening in Michigan State. This is a big reason why Nick Saban stepped down, is because of NIL, because of the transfer portal, and the length of the spring window. And they shortened the spring window in football, which may or may not make a big difference. But it remains the same in basketball. And it's an issue because it plagues these teams that are trying to build something. They're trying to build something with a certain amount of players. And if you have the culture and you have a good opportunity, and look at these guys, almost made it to a Final Four with the team that they got. They're losing very few guys, bringing a lot of guys back. But no, there's guys jumping in the transfer portal, basically forgetting about everything that they've accomplished this season, saying, hey, we're going to go try it out at a different school. Let's just go try it out at a different school. They have the opportunity to do that, but it's just that's where it shows you where their head's at. So you like a guy, you follow them, you're a fan of them for a long time, for the whole season. Other than they go off and do this, and then come to find out, this was always in the plans, even before everything was over. So it's a big mess. I'm going to be going on a rant about it. And when I talked about staying positive and keeping your head up amidst the thunderstorms and the rain and the showers, the scattered showers, very minimal sunlight. It's still cold. It's April. It should be spring. The groundhog saw a shadow, supposedly, and now, we're still dealing with cold, sub 40-degree temps in the raining cold. And basically, I could go out and sail a boat right now because of all the rain we've got. Coming up on 14 inches of rain. And that's just the reality of the situation. So it's just all kind of snowballing, so to speak. So in a big way, I'm talking to myself. Keep your head up, because there's a brighter horizon around the corner. And that goes for everybody. Okay. Everybody goes through it. And it's not just me. Could it be worse? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm blowing it out of proportion a little bit. But at the same time, I got to express my pissed offness. All right. My displeasure, especially with Michigan State athletics. It's the one team that I follow the closest, the one sport that I follow the closest. And it's one thing to lose a game, but it's another thing to have allegiance issues. And that's something that you can control. And it's something that you think that you had, especially Tom Izzo. My heart breaks for Tom Izzo, because he thought he's building something here at Michigan State in this program. He's been doing it for 30 years plus now. And when he sees players give up on that vision and give up on the traditions that have been built upon the banks of the Red Cedar, he loses faith a little bit in his guys. He's like, "Am I doing the right thing?" And that's the last thing that we want as Michigan State fans. And Michigan State Twitter has really been blowing up. They've taken it very hard as far as dealing with the transfer portal rumors and players leaving, departing, etc. So it's just a lot to take in. It's been several days. Okay, it's been 3 days, right after a huge riding that high off that win against Ole Miss, wanting more than anything to have Michigan in the Elite Eight. Then you get Auburn. Then you play like shit against Auburn. All right, a number of guys did. A couple guys played well. Janai Broom goes off with an injury. He comes back, has a hell of a night. And he really exemplifies that team. That Auburn team never would be where they're at without Janai Broom. I never really knew, and I knew he was good, but I never really knew and put pen to paper on how much of an impact he had on that team individually. He has a big individual impact on the Auburn Tigers, and that cannot be forgotten about. And I don't think they can win it all riding on Janai Broom's coattails alone. It's going to take more than that. So we'll have to see what happens. But I digress. We got to move on. We got to get to other topics. I'm going to be bitching about this on TikTok all week. So talk about the NBA. Obviously, the Pistons are rolling. Got a big one against OKC tonight. Going to be a true test for them. I'm pulling for them. I love the Detroit Pistons. All right. You see me. I got my Lions sweatshirt on. We're focusing on Detroit athletics. All right. Going into 2025, we're focusing on Detroit athletics. That goes for the Red Wings. That goes for obviously the Pistons. And God forbid I say it also goes to the Detroit Lions. It does. I have to say. Big Hitch with a comment. Florida is going to cook Auburn. I don't know, man. I don't know. Tell you what, I've been watching Florida a lot, and I got them win it all in my bracket, which is already in shambles. Okay, it's in shambles. And shout out to everybody that's going to be taking my money once everything's said and done, even if Florida does win. I think that's the case. But they've been playing like shit. They've skated by in games where they should not have won. All right, Texas Tech, they shouldn't have won. And UConn, they shouldn't have won. Okay, so they're lucky to be the team that basically history was depending on is the Florida Gators, and they didn't let history down, but they came damn close to it. Issa Ibrahim is Cade top 5 right now. I think so, he says. I mean, he's playing like it. He's putting this team on his back like a backpack. That's what we expect out of Cade. That's what he's basically been growing into and having to do for a long time. But the Detroit Bad Boys are back, and that's what I love about Detroit. That's what I love about this Pistons team is they're honing in. They're summoning their inner bad boy mentality when they're playing these basketball games. And I think in a very big way, it's helping them win games. And people aren't seeing through it like it's something fake. It's something real. It's something that you can touch with your hands. It's something that you can see and you can breathe within the atmosphere of just watching a Detroit Pistons basketball game. You can really see it, you can witness it, and you can believe it just by watching it. You don't have to have someone tell you it. You don't have to someone like me even explain it to you. Just watch their game against the OKC Thunder tonight and tell me if you don't see some Thunder. Okay, Isaiah Stewart, this guy is basically like the new era Ben Wallace. All right. And and I just shared a post actually on Facebook where it was a split screen photo of Meta World Peace or Ron Artest and Ben Wallace. Basically, they were giving each other hugs. They were dapping each other up, and they're as friendly as ever. Like they were the best buds. When back forever ago, they were the ones that were the stars, for so to say, of the Malice at the Palace. Okay, R.I.P. to the Palace, because that was a hell of a venue. But you want to talk about the Malice at the Palace, you can see something like that happen real easy with this year's Detroit Pistons team. And I think we have a very high potential to see that. And we've seen it before, where a lot of these guys are going to throw hands for anybody. They know when to do it. They can pick their battles. But they got some names. They got some names on this team. All right. I mean, Jaden Ivey. You got Tim Hardaway Jr. You got Schroeder. You got Beasley. You got Reed. You got Fantecchio. I mean, come on now. Come on now. I mean, they're getting dragged right now by 12. But listen, it's not a big deal. It's early in the game. These guys are a second half team, right? We've heard that before. But the NBA is heating up, man. The NBA is heating up. I'm trying to get on the asses of everybody that's in our Discord to wake up. It's time to wake up because I'm talking to Ben Gordon. All right. I'm talking to Adrian Walter. I'm talking to Kyle Lutz. I'm talking to Cody Almasi. I'm talking to Chris. All right. I'm talking to all these guys. All right. Tell them to get on the mic. Hey, Colin, I'm talking to you too. Hop on the mic and tell us what you know. These guys know more than anybody about the NBA. They're in that Discord constantly. I'll be looking at the Discord. I'm like, holy shit, guys, go to bed. Go to bed. It's late. Go to bed. What do they do now? They're chatting it up, talking about NBA stuff. So these guys know their stuff. These guys know their stuff. We got to get them in here. We got to have a conversation because they have the gift. Issa Ibrahim, who do you think wins it all this year? Lakers a contender? Now, I think there's too much going in the headspace with LeBron James right now. Okay, now if they make a run, the only reason they do is it's because they've acquired Luka Doncic. Okay, now you can say, oh, they don't really have a big man. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about the outside threat. And listen, they've always had big promise. They've had big promise even in years past. We got to see more. And that's kind of what it boils down to. Are they going to get the job done? How much time does LeBron have? Is he Benjamin Button? Does he still have any gas left in the tank? That's yet to be decided. We have to wait and see. I would have to argue acquiring Luka might have been a crutch. For LeBron to stand on, so he didn't have to wear the team like a backpack, like Janai Broome and the Auburn Tigers. So, and just to talk about Michigan State again real quick, that leader by committee that me and Chuck were talking about, it worked until that game against Auburn. And then you play against a team that has a player that can put his team on his back like a backpack. Forget about it. Issa says, I think they make history and he wins with his son. Wow, that's kind of a bold take. I'm going to have you hop on here and explain yourself with that one. I have a big futures bet, Lakers to beat Cavs in the finals. I mean, the Cavs are looking good. The Thunder is looking good. There's some teams that are really looking good. And, I mean, you can sit here and look at the standings, but to be honest with you, nothing really matters until we get into the month of May. Which that's when things really start to heat up. All right. And even going into the end, towards the end of April. All right. Middle of April, we're getting towards that time. Okay. We're getting towards the time with the play-in situation. And you kind of got to be where you're going to be at somewhat now. And the script is mostly set. You mentioned the script there, Issa. It's in the script, brother, he says. Yeah, it is in the script. But what we have to do is we have to watch and see where everybody's at because there can be some minuscule movements. And to compare the NBA to the NHL, we've seen how much these minuscule movements have an effect on the overall outcomes of certain teams getting in and certain teams not getting in. All right. So as Charles Barkley would say to the teams on the bubble, we'll see at the play-in and good luck at the play-in because that's when history gets made or hearts get broken. Period. End of story. So that's the reality of it. But this is the real reason I'm talking about the NBA because we got the Ja Morant finger gun probe with Buddy Hield of the Golden State Warriors in their loss last night against the Warriors. That is the Grizzlies. And just to look at this at a broad scale, seeing the finger guns, seeing the AR be pulled. All right, the AR is pulled by Ja Morant. Okay, Ja Morant pulls out the AR. Now, whether or not Buddy Hield pulled the AR first or not is really up for debate. That's kind of why they're looking into this. But it appears to me that Draymond Green, really made a big deal out of this. Really made a big deal out of this. He's like, he even talked to the ref after. He's like, you gotta go check this out on the monitor because this shit can't happen in the NBA, right? And that's kind of the mentality that he had. And it's just ironic that somebody like Draymond Green with a temperament of Draymond Green. I know I love Draymond. Okay, I love Draymond to death. But with the temperament of Draymond Green to be bitching about something happening on the court that has to do with some kind of on-court drama, it's just funny, man. It's just funny. And I'm glad it was Draymond. And I'm glad it was Draymond that wasn't involved. And maybe he was going to bat for whether it was Buddy Hield or Steph Curry or whoever it was. It was pretty comical. Okay, let's just put it that way. So let's break it down. Okay, so what does this mean? We've seen this become a focal point, if you will, of athletics, not only at the pro level but also at the high school level, which I've been coached on as being a sports official. So we were reffing a game out in Lakeville, out in the sticks. And they were playing Montrose, and it was a close game. Okay, it was a neck and neck game. Kid makes a three for Lakeville. It's a home game. It's pretty rowdy in there. There's a big crowd. Kid makes a three, and then he does one of these. Okay, he does one of these or does one of these. You know, I mean, we've all seen it. We've done it. Everybody's done it. Everybody's seen it. Okay, it seems like wouldn't be a big deal. Wouldn't be a big deal. I didn't see it, but my partner that was officiating with me threw an automatic technical foul at him. And I'm like, whoa, what happened? You know, I mean, I'm going with it. I'm trying to, get an idea of what's going on with the situation. He threw a tee at him and he did the hand gesture. So just for doing the hand gesture, now we didn't see it, but he saw it because it was in his PCA, his primary coverage area. So he saw it. You can't do that. And now that's not a finger gun. That's not a bow and arrow. That's not an AR, right? It's not an RPG, right? It's nothing like that, but it's still a hand gesture, and those are being frowned upon at the high school level, even if it's not directed at another player or a coach or an official or anybody. But to see this happen and to see it get blown out of proportion like we have seen in recent days, it's kind of surprising to see it get blown out of proportion like this. But at the same time, there's got to be some kind of limit, especially if it's directed at another player. It's one thing, and even at the college level, I've noticed they let a lot of this stuff go. Okay, whether they're doing the, finding the vein or they're, shooting the bow and arrow at the basket or whatever it is. Okay, no, it's not directed at a player. They're letting it slide. But it's like, where do you draw that line, especially at the pro level when they let so much shit go? How do you draw the line at something like this? So they're doing a big probe into it. I'm sure John Morant is kind of regretting his actions and the fact that this got blown out of proportion. He has a big opportunity to have an example made out of him. And Buddy Hield's in the same boat. So I would argue that Buddy Hield and John Morant are kind of in the same boat when it comes to making an example out of anybody. So we'll see how this plays out. I don't know what they're going to do about it. If Adam Silver is going to have to get involved, it could be a whole deal, especially going into the play-in and going into playoffs. And I just don't know how this plays out. I really don't. It seemed like it sparked more uproar amongst the players, which tells me it probably had a bigger meaning behind just the hand gesture. But I could be wrong. We'll have to wait and see. All right. Switching gears back to college basketball again real quick. The Final Four is in San Antonio. Will take place this weekend. Florida and Auburn, which that could be a toss-up game. Depends on who shows up. I would say, based on how I've seen Florida play, I'm going to take Auburn, especially if Janai Broom's playing well. I don't really see how Auburn loses to Florida, right? Then you got Houston and Duke. It's really hard to bet against Duke. Houston's a great team. But I just think Duke is better. I think they're more dominant. I think their ability to put the basketball in the hoop is second to none. Okay, Cooper Flagg looks as healthy as he's ever been. Kind of tells me he faked everybody out thinking that he had an injury. I think he was full of shit. He doesn't look injured to me. All right, so I'm just going to put that out there. So we'll see what happens. But people have asked me, who do I have to take it out? Given what I've seen and given what is to come, given the matchups that are, undoubtedly to take place, the path to the end is pretty clear at this point. It's hard to bet against Duke, man. It's hard to bet against Duke, and I hate to say it because I hate Duke unlike anybody else, right? And I, out of spite, would never take them to win it all. But I don't see how anybody beats them. I really don't. And I gotta give the credit to Tone Malone talking shit to me over the weekend. I think I'm gonna two-peat. He says. Okay, now he won the gin picker last year, the bracket challenge. And now he's sitting in first with Duke as the victor, Final Four. Okay, 3 total games left. It's looking pretty damn good for him, especially points-wise. So if it does, more power to him. I'm kind of pulling for everybody but Duke, just so he doesn't two-peat. So I'm rooting against Duke. I'm praying their downfall. And let's see what happens, because surprises can happen. March Madness isn't over yet. Okay, that has to be acknowledged. Period. End of story. So we gotta acknowledge another thing too. We're waltzing into Masters Week, and it seems like it comes so quickly every year. But the reality of the situation is, it is back, and I got to get Sobo on here to talk about Masters Week. It's a rite of passage. It's a tradition unlike any other, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm looking for betting picks. I'm looking for dark horses. I'm looking for who looks good, who's been playing good, right? Okay, now Minwoo Lee has been playing very good, so I have high hopes for Minwoo Lee. I got high hopes for Rory McIlroy. You got dark horses, that guys that could play well, like Justin Thomas. Okay, Ludwig Aberg. All right, you got guys that can come out and emerge from the shadows. And it sounds like I'm just making this shit up when I'm saying it, but I'm not. Guys can emerge, and in golf, this can happen unlike any other sport. They can emerge from the shadows and show you something that you might have never seen before. Okay, they did a big story on Craig Stadler when he won way back in the day. And he was basically playing like shit before that. Not placing in tournaments, not making cuts week after week. He shows up to Augusta, and next thing you know, he wins the whole thing. Okay, so that's the beauty of the hallowed grounds of Augusta National, is anybody can win any given week, any given day. They can play well. They can pop off. They can pull a Tiger Woods 2019 situation where he goes and wins it when people think he's done. People think he's ready for the Champions Tour. No, this guy goes out and gets another green jacket. So that's what the Masters is all about. That's what makes the Masters so fun to watch, and that's what makes it such a great event. And that's the other thing too, is it's privately sanctioned. So this may be a good thing. This may be a bad thing. Me, I frown upon it, because it's like, if you're going to play live, right? If you're going to do the almighty sin and go to live just for the money, go for the money, right? It's like the transfer portal. Everyone that jumped in the sack with live, they basically jumped in the transfer portal and took more NIL money. That's really what they did. That's what they did. And if they didn't, prove me wrong. Okay, I'll be waiting. But to see them come back and be accepted with open arms in all 4 majors on the PGA Tour is basically saying we can have our cake and we can eat it too. And I don't like that. That doesn't sit well with me. So you're going to be seeing a lot of live golfers, live players at Augusta National this coming weekend. So be on the lookout for that. But I got some choice words. I've been scheming in my head. So I got some stuff that I got to ask Sobo once we have a time to sit down and have a conversation. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'll save everything I got to say until that point. The GSN Sports Network Challenge 6 is set for September 13th, 2025. The registration form goes live this weekend. And then some other news, we are going to be featured on the back of the scorecard for regular play at Briar Ridge. So we're going to be advertising the podcast, advertising the golf outing, advertising the Thomas Smith Memorial Foundation. We're going to be doing all that. Okay. And we got a lot of big things planned for the outing. But what's even better about it, I think, it's not the weather. It's not the timing of the outing. It's how we have so much time going into summer. And I guess it partially is the weather. It's the timing. It's the later in the seasonness. Okay. Later in the season, the calendar. That's what it mostly is about. But the weather kind of goes hand in hand with that, so I'll take it. Right? I like the cooler weather. I prefer fall golf. It's kind of early fall golf. And maybe I'm taking my own interests and likes into my own tournament, but I think that's going to benefit the field. Okay. And there might be some changes that happen to the format. Not the 2-man and nothing to do with the jackets or anything like that, but I don't want to let too much out of the bag. You're just going to have to wait and see. So the link to join will be in the description of this podcast. Make sure to go to it. It will also be featured on our parent website, gympros.org, alongside all of the past scores from all the GSNCs of years past. It's an event like any other, unlike any other. I don't want to compare it to the Masters, but it is very much unlike any other when it comes to the 2-man. Okay, we want to grow the 2-man. Talking to Matt Kohler of the Bropen, we got to grow the 2-man. Okay, the 2-man is a format in and of itself, and making it co-ed too. Making it co-ed is another thing. That's something that we have implemented as of late, but we'll be implementing more going into the future. Is having it be co-ed, but you don't see a lot of 2-man events. Okay, you got guys that come in, they want to clean up, they want to clean house and whatnot. That's fine. That's fine. We want to get a group of those guys because we want to put them together. And we have good competition no matter what. It's not what it's all about. Yes, you want to go out and win and beat the field, but you want to go out and have a good time and do it for a good cause and be a part of the event itself, because the event is really the showcase event for GSN every single year. So look forward to that as well. Get on there and get registered, find your player, and join up, because we want to have a full field this year. We want to have a full field, and we won't accept anything less than that. So look forward to it as it is coming up. Okay, now it's only April. But September will be here before you know it. All right, I hate to say it. People are like, John, it's not even summer yet. Okay, it's not even 50 degrees on a consistent basis yet. My furnace is still turning on, John. Do you know that? So that I'd say, relax. I know, I understand. But it's really just it's an ode, basically, to enjoy every day like it's your last, because time flies, man. Time flies. It goes by quickly, and before you know it, it's gone. So enjoy every day, because time is fleeting constantly. All right, everybody, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for tuning in to this podcast. Find all of our links in the bottom of this podcast in the description. Find our link tree, find our website, ginsportsnetwork.com. Find us on IG at ginsportsnetwork, and find us on Twitter at ginpros. Follow us, find us on Twitch, twitch.tv/ginpros. And like I said, all the links are in the bottom. All of my socials are in the bottom. Get a hold of me, shout me out, talk some shit to me, whatever you got to do. Get a hold of me, however you have the means necessary to do so. And I'll see you guys here next time. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Gin Sports Network podcast. I'm your host, as always, John J. II. Have a great night.